Translation of Bird Horse by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, we first go over the words, see what they mean before we chant it. So, stidam means steady. Prabhupada translates without being disturbed. Sukham, comfortable. Cha, and asana, do you want to? Asanam, a seat, a sukham asanam, a comfortable seat. Astito, being situated. Jatir, the practitioner. It says the sage Yada, when jihasur, one desires to give up imam, this anga, indeed, or O king, body, I'm sorry, lokam, this world, when one desires to give up this world, kalecha deshecha, which in Sanskrit literally means both in the time and in the place. But of course, it means here proper time and place. So in Sanskrit, there is a word for both, ubha, but often they'll repeat the word and the time and the place, which is like saying both time and place, in the time and the place. Mano, the mind, nasajayet. One should not attach the mind anywhere. Pranan, the pranas, the life airs, or probably translates here, the sense is nia chain, nia chait, actually, it is the original word. One must control. Nia chait is just the verb. The noun from the same root would be niyama. Like in yoga, yama niyama, this is just the verb. Nia chait. Manasa, with the mind, jita asu. Asu is a synonym for prana, so conquering the breathing for the life airs. So there's a technical description of yoga. So we'll chant this. This is 2:2:15. Stidang sukham chasanam astito jatir. Stidang sukham chasanam astito jatir. Stidang sukham chasanam astito jatir.
Sthiram Sukham Chasanam Astito Jatir.
Yada jihasurima
Yajarajiha Surimangalokam.
Yada jihasurima
Yajarajiha Surimangalokam.
Kale cha deshe cha mano nasajayet.
Kale Chadeshe Chamanona Chajayet.
Kale cha deshe cha mano nasajayet. Kale cha deshe cha
Chamanona Sajayet.
prananya chain manasajitasu.
Prananya Chen Manasajitasu.
Prananya chain manasajitasu.
Prananya Chen Manasajitasu. Sthiram Sukham Chasanam Ashtito Yatir.
Stiram sukham chasanamastito jatir.
Yadha Jihasuri Mamangalokam.
Yada jihasurima mangalokam.
Kale Chadeshe Chamanona Sajayet.
Kale cha deshe cha mano nasajayet.
Prananya Chech Manasajitasu.
Prananya chain manasajitasu. Try your luck.
Stiram Sukham Chasanamastito Jatir.
Stiram sukham chasanamastito jatir.
Jada Jihasur Imamangalokam.
Yada jihasurima mangalokam.
Kale Chadeshe Chamanona Sajayet.
Kale cha deshe cha mano nasajayet.
Prananya Chen Manasajitasu.
Pranam niyachain manasajitasu.
Stiram Sukham
Chasanam.
Chasanam Ashido Yadir
Stiram Sukham Chasanam Astito Jatir.
Yada
No, Yada.
Yada Jihasuri Mamangalokam
Yada Jihasuri Mamangalokam.
Kale Chadeshe Jamano Naja Saja Yet
Kali Chadeshe Chamano Nasajayet.
Prananiyachen Manasajita Suhum
Prananiyachain Manasajitasu. So, Prabhupada translates Stidam without being disturbed, Sukham comfortable. Actually, we went over those. So, the translation, O king, whenever the yogi desires to leave this planet of human beings, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place, but should sit comfortably without being disturbed, and regulating the life air should control the senses by the mind. Prabhupada's purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 8:14, it is clearly stated that a person who is totally engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and who constantly remembers him at every step easily obtains the mercy of the Lord by entering into his personal contact. Such devotees do not need to seek an opportune moment to leave the present body. But those who are mixed devotees, alloyed with fruitive action or empirical philosophical speculation, require an opportune moment for quitting this body. For them, the opportune moments are stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8:23-26. But these opportune moments are not as important as one's being a successful yogi who's able to quit his body as he likes. Such a yogi must be competent to control his senses by the mind. The mind is easily conquered simply by engaging it at the lotus feet of the Lord. That means in service. Gradually, by such service, all the senses become automatically engaged in the service of the Lord. That is the way of merging into the Supreme Absolute. So, merging means merging into service. So, we'll go and look at this verse again. Stidam Sukham Chasanam. So, that means a astita, being situated or being accommodated on the yeti, the spiritual practitioner. So, if you take it from the right side, yeti, the spiritual practitioner, astita, is situated and on a seat, an asana, which is comfortable and steady. Because it can't be rolling around. Has to be a steady, comfortable seat. And then yadaji hasur, when he or she wants to give up. Jihasur is a desiderative form of the verb to give up. So it means when one who wants to give up. When one wants to give up this world, O king, Kali Chadeshi Chamano Nasajayet. So one should not be attached, or Prabhupada says perplexed. One should not be attached like I have to give it up at this time or that place. You see, that's called deathbed piety. When a devotee who's not been very serious about spiritual life realizes I'm going to leave this world, and suddenly they become Krishna conscious, which is very good. I mean, it's certainly a lot better than nothing. But personally, I'd rather not be sort of like terribly, like sort of frightened into Krishna consciousness. I think I'd rather go willingly. And just like now that I'm reasonably healthy, I would like to just really focus on Krishna. Really focus on Krishna. There's a story of the Dichi Muni, I think his name is. Which I always thought that was an amazing story. Uh, Indra had to defeat the Asuras, and so it turned out that to do this, he needed to fashion a thunderbolt but that thunderbolt had to be fashioned from the body or the bones of the sage. So the sage had to, give up that body. And so Indra and the Devas went to that sage and said, "Would you like to donate that body?" So it's a very old thing, going door to door asking for donations. It's a very old Hare Krishna tradition. But in this case, Indra, Indra asked him, would you like to donate your body? So he was such a great sage, he agreed. But here's the point that I always found very amazing. He was so ecstatic, he was so Krishna conscious that he actually didn't even notice when he left his body. It's like, imagine if you're wearing like some kind of like a chador, like a shawl or something, in the kirtan, you're dancing, then you realize it fell, it's on the ground. You didn't notice that it fell off. So he didn't even notice that he left his body. So what this means is that a Krishna conscious person doesn't, it's not that you black out, you become unconscious, hope you wake up somewhere. It's actually, if you're really Krishna conscious, you just sail right through. You maintain your consciousness. So I was thinking that's the way to go in style. That's the way I want to leave this world, not suddenly becoming serious about Krishna consciousness because I realize I'm going to leave this world, but do it now. Do it now, and you can do it with some dignity. So, therefore, it said here, one should not become attached to the time, place, or time. The mind should not become attached. Pranami, a chain. And that one should control the senses by the mind. By the mind. And jita means conquered, and asu just means prana, synonym for the life earth. So, what does that mean in practical terms, jitasu? Because we don't walk around doing pranayama all day. And so, what does that actually mean to us in practical terms? Because prana also means life. So, like in Sanskrit, if you say someone gave up their prana, it means they died, they gave up their life. So, in a practical, for those of us who are not doing, the formal traditional pranayama, this jita, so it means that I think it means that one's life energy should be under control. You have a certain energy. You wake up in the morning and you just have this energy. If you're not completely incapacitated, if you're not completely, uh, disabled, then you wake up in the morning, you have a certain life energy that you have to engage somewhere. And so to conquer that means you've actually just conquered your life energy at a most basic level. You've conquered your life energy, and you can actually point your life, not just the senses, not just the mind, but your life itself. You can just direct your life to Krishna consciousness. And therefore, you don't have another life. That, in other words, we should not have two lives. We should have one life, and that life should be Krishna service. We have to work toward that integrity. So I don't. We just have one life, and so that's the verse. Any questions on this verse? So, uh,
Oh,
yes,
proper time, it says here, not be perplexed about the proper time or place, not be attached.
yes,
So, in the movement, there is a kind of attention to, astrology and things.
yes. I always say there for every philosopher in ISKCON, there's at least maybe 100 or 500 astrologers or people that are into astrology, which
There is, sorry,
yeah,
there's an attention in the Rig Veda on this.
Rig Veda.
yeah, the yagyas and time and the Jyotisha, they said because
No, that's
yeah,
not.
that's
I mean, it is part of the culture. People did pay attention to these things, just like, for example, Bhishma. Well, in the Gita, chapter 8, Krishna says that those who, yogis, which means spiritual practitioners, who leave this world in the Dakshinayana, which means south going, when the sun's in the south, which in the northern hemisphere, from the spring equinox, which is approximately March 20th, 21st, around there. Then up until the autumn equinox, which is September 20th, those 6 months. Uh, no, actually, okay,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
correct myself. From around Christmas, which is why actually no one knew when Jesus was born, but they said, why not do it at winter solstice, uh, the winter solstice, not the equinox. Okay, I'm correcting myself. Edit this out so I appear to be infallible. So yes, the on around June 20th, roughly. It's not always exactly on that day. The sun reaches its highest point in the sky, and so from and the lowest point is around the winter solstice, and then the summer solstice. So around Christmas time, roughly, December 20th, 21st, around that time, the sun. So from June, when it's at the highest point, the sun is getting lower in the sky and moving toward the south. So, for example, here, that's the south. And so you can see the sun rises in the winter over there, and the summer it's going to rise over here. So the sun goes north and the sun goes south. And when it goes north, it gets higher. When it goes south, it gets lower. Of course, it's the opposite of the southern hemisphere. So Krishna talks about this in the Gita in chapter 8. He says spiritual practitioners or yogis who leave in the Dakshinayana. That means that period when the sun is heading toward the south and getting lower in the sky. It's zenith, the high point of the sun. They come back, and those who leave at the Uttarayana, which means the northern path, when the sun is coming back from the winter solstice up to the summer, June 20th, they don't come back. So that's what's being talked about here. And so Bhishma, when he was on the bed of arrows, we know that actually the battle of Kurukshetra took place in December because Bhishma waited until the sun was going back toward the north, and then because he had that boon called Chandamrityu, which means desire death, literally Chandamrityu. He had this dimension of the Bhagavatam that he could leave when he wanted. And so it's not that he could choose never to die. He didn't have immortality in this world. When he had to die, he had to die, but he could choose the day, he could choose the time, which was a boon given to him by his father. So, anyway, but a devotee, and here's the point, the devotee is not worried about those. I mean, Bhishma is a devotee, but he was living in a culture in which people paid attention to these things. And so he's kind of playing by the rules of his time. But in this age, Kali Yuga, which is the glorious age of stupidity, um, if you can just think of Krishna, that's a big deal. So that's like they say, bargain prices are slashed. And so, yeah, everything is made much more simple in this age because people just can't do it nowadays. They just can't do it. So actually, in Bhakti Yoga now, in Kali Yuga, you get a participation trophy if you just Italian Kate.
Special trophy.
So that's what this verse is talking about. And of course, the asanam, it's interesting because the word asana, seat, I mean, in this age, we don't We're not practicing that kind of yoga. But it's interesting because the word asana has another meaning which does apply to us. The word asana also means to sit, sitting in the sense of remaining. Like even in like when the people play poker, they say, "I'm going to sit on this." So it means that. So it can be used as an auxiliary verb in Sanskrit. That's how you say in Sanskrit to go on doing something, like asina or asana, which means that to sit, to remain, like or to continuare facendo qualcosa. So that's it's also used as so in that sense, a comfortable seat means you have to find sort of a comfortable cruising altitude in Krishna consciousness. You know, sometimes we get lazy and negligent in our spiritual practice, and sometimes we have these piety attacks, and for a short time we just, become super devotees, but then we become normal again. And so, Stidham Sthiram Sukham Asanam here also can mean literally that you just have to find a comfortable, happy level of Krishna consciousness that you can that's actually sustainable for you. So you can, run the long race, the long distance race, because as they say, bhakti yoga is not a sprint, it's a long distance race. And so we all, in order to be happy and steady, steady in Krishna consciousness, we have to find a certain spiritual level that's sustainable for us. So that we can have it. So in that sense, all these verses that talk about asanas, referring to yoga procedures that we don't practice anymore, but it can also be translated literally to mean just to find a happy, steady level of Krishna consciousness. So, any questions? If not, maybe we'll stop here for today. See you, Prabhupada.
Yes.